When entering a new season, you can easily find projections and articles for breakout players, whether it be for fantasy sports or just in general. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is one of these players. The former #1 overall prospect hasn't quite lived up to the immense expectations placed upon him. Prior to the 2019 season, the battle for first place on the top 100 prospect boards were fought between Guerrero Jr. and Fernando Tatis Jr. 2 years later, Tatis has signed a 14-year contract with the Padres, while Guerrero is still trying to find his footing. However, entering his third season at the big league level, there is good reason to project a breakout season for Guerrero. First, we have to understand how scouts evaluated him during his days as a prospect. 16-year-old Guerrero entered the league through the international free agent period in 2015. He was ranked by MLB.com as the fourth best prospect in the class. Guerrero signed with the Blue Jays and received a signing bonus of $3.9 million. Blue Jays Special Assistant of Latin American Operations, Ismael Cruz, said that Guerrero had big raw power and better bat skills than his dad at that age. It didn't take long for the rest of the league to take notice of Guerrero. Impressive stints in the minor leagues between 2016 and 2018 shot Guerrero up the prospect boards, eventually becoming the consensus #1 prospect prior to the 2019 season. Before his MLB debut, Guerrero was presented as one of the most hyped up prospects ever. He became the first player ever to receive an 80 hit grade by MLB Pipeline. Baseball America did the same thing. The rest of his scouting ratings paint a player who will definitely hit over 300, hit 30+ home runs, and provide passable defense at third base. Jim Callis of MLB.com even considered the question of whether Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the best prospect ever. Well, he didn't have 5 tools like Griffey, Trout, or A-Rod, but Guerrero's hitting profile was as elite as you can get. If you're questioning how Guerrero was considered in the same league as these names, you now realize how hyped up Guerrero was as a prospect. And it was only a couple of years ago. Well, by the end of April in 2019, Guerrero was no longer a prospect. He was the starting third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. His first few months in the show weren't exactly great, but in the Home Run Derby, Guerrero put on quite the show. In fact, Guerrero and Jock Peterson put on quite the show. These two guys now own the 3 top spots in home runs for a single round of the Home Run Derby. After the All-Star break, Guerrero performed pretty well, but he did end the year on a sour note. In the end, Guerrero's batting stats show a slightly above average hitter, which is pretty impressive for a rookie. But his fielding stats tell a different story. Guerrero's UZR, or Ultimate Zone Rating, was the worst out of all third basemen in the entire league that played at least 800 innings at the position. Out of all fielders, this figure was second behind Charlie Blackmon. DRS, or Defensive Runs Saved, tells a similar story. In short, Guerrero's hitting hadn't quite made up for his defending. One issue was his mobility. However, he lost more than 25 pounds during his rookie year, and a National League evaluator said that his bat skills were still present. So, how did Guerrero perform in his sophomore season in 2020? Well, he transitioned into a first baseman / designated hitter. However, his UZR and DRS stats at the position were still among the worst. The good news was he didn't regress as a hitter, but he didn't perform much better. So, what do we need to see from Guerrero moving forward? Well, it's clear that he still possesses his hitting ability. In 2020, Guerrero hit the 5th most balls over 95 miles per hour in the league, and he hit the 3rd hardest hit ball of 2020. In fact, in 2019, he hit the hardest hit ball of the entire season. However, back to 2020, if we look at the players ranked around Guerrero on the leaderboard, Guerrero has the lowest launch angle and sweet spot percentage out of all of these players, signifying that more often than not, he was missing the optimal launch angle range of 8 to 32 degrees. So, while Guerrero's hard hit percentage improved significantly, he continued to hit ground balls the majority of the time. Why is Guerrero seemingly hitting the ball harder, but into the ground? Interestingly, this all ties back to his rookie year. After the 2019 season, hitting coach Guillermo Martinez mentioned what held Guerrero back was his conditioning. When he was fatigued, it caused him to search for more power, which caused him to jump at the ball. When you jump at the baseball, you don't create time and you have to speed up everything. That caused him to pull balls into the ground. In the same article, Guerrero mentioned how he was working with Martinez on launch angle. However, by the beginning of the second 2020 training camp, Guerrero was up to 280 pounds, much higher from his listed 250 pounds. Manager Charlie Montoyo said this hurt everything about Guerrero's game, from hitting to fielding. At the plate in 2020, Guerrero performed much worse against off-speed pitches. Although, interestingly, his strikeout rate, walk rate, and chase percentage was favorable. Fortunately, after the 2020 season, Guerrero made a big commitment to his body. By the end of November, he had lost 40 pounds. He said how he apologized to his teammates after showing up out of shape in 2020. Guerrero also mentioned that he worked a lot on his legs for the purposes of mobility on the field and patience at the plate. Repetition is key, and athleticism plays a big role. This is what Blue Jays GM Ross Atkins explains about Guerrero. As Guerrero limits his fatigue, he's increasing reps during practice and games, allowing him to make the needed adjustments at the plate. As for fielding, manager Montoyo said with the amount of talent at his disposal, Guerrero needs to become a Gold Glove first baseman before he becomes a regular at third base. Still, Gold Glove production at a position would be huge for Guerrero's future. According to Zips and Picoda, Guerrero is expected to take a slight step up from 2020, but I think he will outperform these projections. Now that he has been given a primary position and has improved his physique, Guerrero seems poised for a breakout year. What could a breakout year look like? Well, considering how he's performed in the past 2 seasons, despite some shortcomings, I can see him hitting 25 plus home runs with an OPS near 830 to 850 and OPS plus around 125. However, a lot of this rides on whether he can increase his launch angle to around 8 degrees. Just look at a guy like Eric Hosmer, a player who dramatically increased his launch angle in 2020 and had his best offensive season in years. In short, Guerrero has shown commitment to outperform his previous seasons. Now, it's all about results. Will he raise his launch angle? Will he become a more reliable defender? If both of these answers are a yes, Guerrero is in for a breakout season. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.